Hello, good afternoon, people. This is a Real Radio podcast. My name is Arturo. You can find me as conservative underscore Venezuelan on Instagram. And I am happy to be working with my friend Simon Molina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Simon Molina Herrera. On Instagram, S Molina Herrera. Also, host of Real Radio Podcast. We're very glad here to be with Maria Fernanda Bello, activist and student at Nova University. So, welcome, Maria.
Thank you for having me.
So, Maria, so just explain a little bit like your introduction, like where you come from, like what's going on, what was it like growing up in Venezuela?
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Maria Bello. I was raised in Venezuela. I was born and raised in Venezuela, and then I left Venezuela when I was only 17 years old due to socialism. We all know that. Growing up in Venezuela was like really, really hard. There are so many things I can tell you guys. We will spend hours and hours talking about why socialism doesn't work. But one of the main reasons was because I knew I wasn't going to have a good life in Venezuela. I wasn't going to have a really good education. I wasn't going to have freedom. And that's why I left Venezuela. Plus, I was a political activist in Venezuela. I was doing campaigns against the government. So I knew I was either going to end up in jail or I was going to end up dead. Sadly, that's what's happening in your country.
So one of the big things I want to just point out a little bit, because I've seen sometimes in the media that they just point out big cities in Venezuela, and I know we've talked over the phone multiple times, and you've told me you're from a different town, like more of like a
Yeah.
township, like a smaller town. So how is it like living there? With the situation and pretty much the crisis and with the regime.
So I used to live in a small town in Venezuela. It's called El Tigre in Soadegui. That's on the east of Venezuela. I love my town. Believe me, I love it. It's just a small town girl over here. But even though people don't see it that way, as small towns we suffer. We go through so many things. I remember I have posted this so many times. I remember going to the grocery store with my mom at like 8 a.m. And once we got close to the entrance, they told us, hey, there is nothing left. There is no food left. And we were like, gosh, we have been in line for hours and hours. And you're telling me there is no food? So it was really complicated because the Colectivos in El Tigre, our mayor is right now he's the opposition, but the one that was before him was with the government. So we will always have the Colectivos after us because we were doing campaigns against the government. So they will come with their guns. And let me just tell you right here, we were just students, underage kids, most of us, and they will come with their guns and we didn't have anything to defend ourselves. So this is one of the problems in Venezuela. They come after these kids that just want a better future with their guns to scare them, to hit them, to hurt them, to kill them.
I was gonna point out something regarding the collectivos. Collectivos are, for all people who are hearing us, they are pretty much armed civilians.
Yeah, a terrorist group.
Yeah, who basically threaten people.
Yeah.
They infiltrate in protests and pretty much loot. They destroy property, vandalize like anything you can imagine, and they operate mostly on things called the peace zones, which were created by the government. And I mean, I know basically they own it. It's like that they govern, like they're their own government. They're the ones who rule there. The law doesn't rule there by them. So it is. I understand where you're coming from there. So I'm gonna leave the floor to my friend Simon to go with the other questions.
Yes, Maria Fernanda, what was your transition from coming to the United States and living in Venezuela? How did you just work and taught or teach the other generations, the youth right here in America, on the day
So
of socialism? How was that journey for you?
When I left Venezuela, my major is political science. So when I left Venezuela, I was like silence. I didn't want to talk about it. I was scared because, my family was still in Venezuela. So I didn't know if I spoke about the government or if I spoke against the government, something was going to happen to my family. So I was really silent. I really didn't, talk about it, just like with my friends, my close friends and stuff like that. And some posts, but nothing really as active as I am right now. So last year, I found out that there were so many Americans, kids our age, that they would love to have socialism in America, and they don't even have any idea what it is. They don't even know the concept. You ask them, hey, what is the definition of socialism? And they are like, I don't know, but I have heard it's really good. So many free things, right? But this is one of the things I always say. So this kind of government, socialist governments, they promise you free college, free tuition, free healthcare, free everything, but they don't promise you freedom.
Hmm.
So after that, I was just like, okay, it's my time to speak up. I have to do something because I'm into politics. I'm gonna be in politics my whole entire life. So I better just start speaking up. So I did. I started speaking up, and then I got involved with so many organizations. Right now, I'm working with Jazz and Bienvenidos. So I'm so proud to be part of these organizations.
And it's really amazing. And people, the youth right here can understand, because the situation, if we look into the Chas in Seattle, they have a little Venezuela right there. And
Right.
we understand that Antifa is equal to Colectivos.
Yeah, it's a terrorist organization, and we have the United Nations, they defend them. Just like they did with Maduro. They gave Maduro a human rights seat in the United Nations. Come on, guys.
Yeah, you have Chaz, for example, no food, no water, no police, to the most claiming thing
Nothing.
on the police, and it's a total chaos. You eat from the floor.
It's insane.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the same thing in Venezuela. And people need to understand that although they say the Nordic model is a total lie, because they have been, first of all, Switzerland, Sweden, Denmark, they're all like little countries that have their own individualism and capitalism there that look like the socialist paradigm, right, but it's not true.
I want to point out something really quick. Spotify, I think, pretty much half of the world uses Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify is actually Swedish. I mean, have you seen any communist country or socialist country actually running or having something that everybody uses it? No.
Actually, that's funny. When I went back to Venezuela in 2014, I tried to use my Spotify. I couldn't use Spotify in Venezuela.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I know I couldn't access my bank account.
Yeah, you cannot access your bank account in Venezuela. But I mean, last time I was in Venezuela was 2015. So I couldn't access to my bank account, my Spotify, like stuff like, they were from America. I couldn't access to it. So I was like, huh.
So, Maria Fernanda, so we've seen a lot of times, a lot of people are actually, okay, so for example, I'm not going to say names, but we all know that there was a lot of people saying that we should go to each house and take their guns away.
Right.
And I wanted just to point out a little bit there, because it's like, you see, like, people see the pictures of the students in Venezuela, like people our age,
getting killed by the government,
covering in cardboard. So
and have sticks, and we just throw rocks. That's pretty much what we have.
So how will you define the Second Amendment here in America?
So let me start by telling you that when I came to America, I was so scared of guns. I was traumatized because in Venezuela, I went through so many things that involve guns. And in Venezuela, we don't have guns. We don't have anything to defend ourselves. We have never had something called the Second Amendment or anything that you can tell, hey, I have a gun. I can defend my house. I can defend my family. I can defend my country. We don't have any of that. So I was really traumatized. I couldn't see a cop with guns because I was freaked out. So until I heard someone, a really good politician, I love that guy. He was explaining why the Second Amendment is so important. If we don't have the Second Amendment in America, the same thing that happened in Venezuela is going to happen here. Exactly the same thing. Why? Because guns, they're not meant to kill people as everyone thinks. No, guns kill people. No, guns are meant to defend yourself from the government, from the criminals. I got robbed twice in Venezuela. I was only 14 and 16. And these people, they had a gun pointed at me. I couldn't do anything. My family couldn't do anything. What I thought was, if I don't give them my phone or my laptop, whatever they ask me for, they're going to kill me. So do you even have an idea what it is to think about, okay, I'm going to die right now. My friend died 2 years ago. There were these people that were following her, and she was driving, they were following her. They wanted to rob her car. Well, they don't even know this whole story. Some people say they wanted to kidnap her. Some people say they wanted to rob her car, and they kill her. So I just want to, think about what would have happened if my friend had a gun, if she could defend herself, or if we could defend ourselves. If criminals knew that we had the power, that we had guns, they will never come after us. The Colectivos won't even exist because we could defend ourselves. So this is why the Second Amendment is so important, because you need to defend yourself. I get it, you're scared of guns, but if you don't have guns, then the government will come after you and they're going to take everything from you. Exactly what happened in Venezuela.
And you prevent a lot of death by guns. Just like,
Yeah.
for example, I think that was in Mississippi somewhere, they were going to shoot out a church again. And just a former guard, a former officer came up and shoot the shooter, to prevent a mass shooting. So that's how they pretty much, an example, they say, oh, what about the mass shootings in schools? What about Parkland? What about Vegas? What happened? Yes, but if they don't go to an armed school with an armed guard. They go with a school without nothing, without no protection. That's how they shoot everyone there.
Yeah, and the other thing was
that what happened in this with looting and everything, it's pretty much you can defend yourself and stop crime.
Yeah, that's why they couldn't destroy so many businesses, because people, their owners, they had guns, so they were like, hey, not doing this in this building.
Mm-hmm. No, one thing about the Second Amendment, and I think there's other stuff as well that I also say we have to work on. It's that it is, and I always say I'm more for smaller governments. So I think if, let's say, something happens with the guns, like there's a shooting or something, I think the community within where that shooting happened needs to take care of it, not the bigger the government is, because they don't really know what's going on there. Like even if they want to see what's going on there, I think it should be a more community driven problem. Like I'm talking more like smaller, like city council. They are the ones that have to deal with it, instead of like not even representatives, but like Washington in general, because they have other stuff that you're taking it to a federal level, and it just happened, let's say, in a little small town. So I just kind of want to add that. That's a little bit of my thing, but I think we all should exercise the right to protect ourselves, because you never know who's going to break into your house. You never know who's going to rob you. And as I say, in Venezuela, I have a friend that died. We all probably, since we're all from there, have friends that have died during the protest. And it's because the government sends a National Guard, and they're the ones who have the guns. And the students, just like us, just like our age, are in cardboards.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why we have to be so thankful that we're here, because if we were still in Venezuela, we would either end up in jail, as I said before, or dead, which is, it's hard. It's really
hard. So one other question that I wanted to ask you is that when was your wake-up call that you wanted to start politics in America and share your story? When was that wake-up call?
So I started like last year. I got like really involved in Leadership Institute. I did my first campaign in the United States. I used to do it in Venezuela, but I really didn't have the chance to do it here. But I was like, I think it's my time to get into politics because this is what I'm going to be doing my whole life. So I better just start. And then when I started seeing so many organizations talking about socialism against socialism, so many kids were like, hey, I love socialism, I want free college. I was like, no, you don't. You don't want that. The best thing is just to work hard for your thing. So last year, I just started getting involved into so many things. Started going to conferences. I did so many great things. I still doing so many great things. So I got involved with YAS, Young Americans Against Socialism, and it has been amazing to see how many Americans, how many kids want to join and they want to help us out. And so I started um, talking to people about my story, posting it. I didn't do it before, but then I started talking on my social media about everything I went through, about socialism, about why socialism is not good. And I got so many people's attention. I went viral. I did a video about a week ago, I think it was, um, saying like why there's so many people that say socialism is so good. So if the socialism is really good, why don't you go to Venezuela? I even say, hey, I'm gonna get you a ticket to go to Venezuela. When I returned, that thing went viral. I had like 22,000 views, so it was amazing. I was like, dang, I think I'm doing really good. I'm doing it great.
And that's the power of America. That's the power of this country. You get viral. You speak up. You have all these opportunities by just working for yourself without knowing,
Right.
And that's the problem of the youth that we have here is that there is a huge lack of history, and that's why I tell the people they
Right.
pretty much they just destroy everything that is historical. They don't know exactly. They just do. They just follow the old fashioned. They just follow because something is important is doing something. They just will
Yeah.
do the same. Like the typical call that we have in Venezuela. Like if little Peter jumps out of the bridge, would you do it? Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem. That's the problem here of youth America. I mean, it's what we need to face, and we need to stop, make people to learn more about the issues of socialism, um,
Right.
what really how this country needs to move forward.
And one of
So
the other things that made me, wanted to speak up is that I was thinking, what will happen if socialism gets to America? Where am I gonna go? Like, this is my home. I'm a United States citizen. I'm not a citizen from another country, just Venezuela and America. And obviously, I'm not going back to Venezuela. So I told myself, I need to do something. I need to start getting involved. I need to speak up. I need to say something. So that's what I did because I don't want to see my home falling for the same thing that my first home went through. I don't want to go through the same things. I don't want people to rob me. I just want to be free. I didn't have freedom in Venezuela. So this is one of the things that why I say, yeah, let's do it.
So for me, also that I want to point out, it's what will you tell besides just literally, or no, it's better. Why do you think there's so many young people? I think you could see that as a trending in universities and colleges. But why do you think in America, especially, there's so much people with with a acceptance of socialism? Like, what's going on?
I think it's because they're not well informed. I think they don't want to know what actually happens in other countries that have gone through socialism. I saw this video, actually you're in that video yesterday, about how this guy he's asking me, hey, okay, so if you love socialism so much, pick a country, Cuba or Venezuela. And he said Venezuela. Yes, I would love to live in Venezuela. I was like, no, you don't want to live there. I left for a reason. So I think it's that they talk about their democratic socialism and how I'm going to give you so many free things. This is what people like. People just want to stay at home, do nothing, just wait for the government to give them money, to give them food, and that's how we create laziness, like lazy people.
Mhm.
So when you tell a college student, hey, I'm going to give you free tuition if you vote for me, hell yeah, let's do it, because they obviously don't want to You don't want to, because I mean, I get it. College are really expensive. Universities are really expensive. But if you tell them, hey, I'm gonna give you free tuition, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have to pay for school after I'm done. I don't have to be worried about being in debt. So that's what they like. But the thing is, as I said it before, what these kids don't know is that you can get free tuition, you can get free college, free healthcare, whatever you want. None of those things are gonna work. None of them. We know how free healthcare works in Venezuela. It's horrible. So, and then the other thing is like, yeah, give me everything free, but don't give me my freedom.
Hmm. And
That's unacceptable.
yeah, and that's the problem, because like they don't know that the deep concept of like free, like, okay, I understand that colleges and universities are expensive in a certain way, depending, and even when you're in other states. University
Yeah.
of Maryland, where studies, I'm paying, normally if you live in state, in Maryland, you pay around $5,000. But when you come from Pennsylvania, when you come from California, when you come from New York, you pay around 13,000 or
Dude,
even
I
20,000.
pay 20,000 a year for
Yes,
my
so
school.
that's the thing. I'm affordable and trying to make a way to change that policy and make it cheaper, but not free. Cheaper, but not free. That's the thing. And but it could also give, because colleges, you need a profit. They need to how
Yeah.
to pay the teachers, how to pay the materials, how to pay the maintenance of each
I
school.
mean, let's not go too far. We see what's happening with public schools in Venezuela. That public schools are literally public. You don't pay for anything. So we see how they are, the conditions that they are in. It's just horrible.
Yes.
You have to wear transparent backpacks because there's too much violence. And I mean, they bring guns and knives to the schools. Or well, let's not even. I can even talk about. Let's go with UDO, Universidad de Oriente.
Hmm.
I don't know if in El Tigre they happen to stop school because teachers or students are protesting, and students have to lose a semester. And it's a free school.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if that happens in universities in El Tigre. I know that happens a lot in.
it does. It does happen.
So I mean, and there's no labs. Like engineers, they have to have some sort of labs. They don't have labs because there's
Yeah.
not enough materials. So
Yeah. Well, my sister, she's going to a private school in Venezuela. I'm not gonna say the name. I'm gonna say the town just because of her safety. Um, my sister told me, hey, I couldn't go to my second semester because it went from, I don't know, let's say $100 a semester. It went to $500 the second semester. So like in each part of the semester, they will tell them different prices. So she's like, I don't know what to do. I cannot afford it. It's just horrible that how one semester is $100 and the next semester is 500. It's like if you go to school here, they will tell you, okay, your first semester is going to be 5,000, the second one will be 30,000, and you're like, what?
Yes, I mean, and like one of the things that we need to focus on is that when you make college for free, you have like a subsidization of education, you know. And for example, in La Universidad Central de Venezuela, they had a famous hall, a famous walking area.
It fell down.
Fell down, the whole thing. It's the most famous case right now. I've been meeting, of course, and you, Math, and we met Venezuelan student activists, and even the food is like a prison food in every college and university in the interior of Venezuela and in the biggest cities. So that's the problem. Even the food is bad. That's what happens when everything is free.
Yeah.
so Maria Fernanda, one quick thing before we start, like moving with questions, comments, and everything. What are your plans for the futures? Like, what do you want to get out with your activism? Like, what's the main goal besides teaching young Americans what really socialism is?
I am going to run for office. Probably 4 years. That's my plan, to run for office in 4 years. So if you guys want to be my campaign manager, my political director, you're welcome.
I will appreciate that a lot. What like Congress, senator,
Senator. I'm
senator.
trying to be the youngest senator.
Oh, so you're trying to pass? Oh no, yes,
Well, she's Congress. I'm gonna be senator, so
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
God bless America, because that's the land. You can get any opportunity. You can, if you work hard, you can get it. And that's the thing. I mean, and but do you plan also to, when the day when we have a free Venezuela and
Okay.
everyone comes back, are you planning to come back? Would you like to?
Um, I've thought about this question so many times, but I will do anything to support my country. I will do anything to support my people, to be there for them, and to build the Venezuela we all miss, the Venezuela we all want.
Amen.
Amen.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the plans for a lot of Venezuelans. They want to go back. I know it's going to take time to recover the country, but I am hoping to see a policy that incentivize Venezuelans in the diaspora actually, having a more like having them to have motivation to come back and invest in the country.
I have always said something about how I think my generation will be the generation that will change everything. I think my generation will be the generation that will build up Venezuela again. I think that's what I think. Don't ask me why. I have always thought about that. But I think this generation. It's a great generation, really strong. I've been through a lot.
the Venezuelan youth are the only key for freedom and to rebuild democracy again, and that's what we need to stand up always, because we are not the future anymore. We are the present. We need to keep that goal always.
Right.
I'm just saying we need to have. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I studied like Venezuela history in deep, and we need something like what happened after the Federal War in Venezuela. Kind of like a change with Antonio Guzman Blanco, who was one of the presidents who basically restructure and make a turnaround in Venezuela. Uh, I think that's what we need in Venezuela. We need another thing of that, and that's like the youth, like the people actually just turning around the country, making it better.
Right.
So how it used to be, or even better than that. So that's just basically me. Uh, so uh, we're
Maria
running.
Fernanda, do you have a message for the young Americans around here, the millennials, all these next generations, who although they look for socialism, but do you have a message for them? Like, what would you say to them?
Listen to the ones who have been through hell. Listen to the ones who have been through so many things under socialism. Listen to them and see if you will actually want to go through the same thing or even worse. One of the things is I want to tell them is if socialism gets to America, where are you gonna go? Where are they all gonna go? Just start thinking about that, right? Because if you want socialism so bad, then you might as well just start thinking about where you're gonna go once socialism gets to America. Because it's not gonna be Venezuela. I'm pretty sure it's not. So I am to the other ones that are fighting, keep fighting, stay strong. Don't care about what other people said about you. We are with you, and we're gonna be with you all the way.
Thank you so much, Maria Fernanda. It's a great time. That was a great message. It's a great story. I'm hoping people can actually see it and watch it. And I bet a lot of people will relate to you, especially from Venezuela and from other countries as well. It's it's powerful to have people like you, especially like we're blessed to have you in the program. Actually,
Thank you.
I appreciate a lot. So first of all, I want to say thank you for coming and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, you're totally welcome and to come. As many as if you want to come again, you're totally welcome. And thank
I
you
will.
everyone to stay in tune in this second episode of Real Radio Podcast. We'll be coming for more. This is just the beginning of a journey of stories, of visions, and to learn more and to make the people learn about the facts, about what's really going on in our society.
And also, I'm just gonna put that we're gonna have English and Spanish episodes because yeah, we do speak, and we wanna target different audiences as well. So we do want to have a diverse audience. So there will be for a Spanish speaking audience, and there will be for an English speaking audience. So for my English speaking audience right now, tune in. You have to watch this. This is great. Share it, give it a like, subscribe.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good day, Maria Fernanda.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.